The Evening Assembly, IKEA Sleep Story, Settling In. Welcome. You are here now. Settle in. Let everything else drift to the edges of the room, where the lamplight does not quite reach, and allow yourself to be still. There is nothing to do. There is nowhere you need to be. Only this. Only the quiet feeling of the pillow beneath your head. The gentle weight of the blanket across your body. And the faint amber glow of a lamp somewhere nearby, casting its warmth across a living room that has been lived in softly and often and without hurry. Outside, a thin rain is falling. You can hear it if you listen, though you do not need to listen closely. It arrives against the window glass with a sound so light it is almost not a sound at all, more a feeling, a texture at the edge of a tension. The room is warm, the air is still, and somewhere inside you, a breath is waiting to be released, slowly, like something that has been held for longer than you realized. Let your jaw soften. You may not have noticed that it was tight, or that the muscles along the sides of your face were holding a small, invisible effort. That is all right. It is a common thing, a quiet thing, and now you can simply let it go. Feel the way your teeth part, just slightly, and the way your tongue settles lower in your mouth, resting against nothing, pressing against nothing, simply finding its place. Your lips may part, or they may not. It does not matter. What matters is only the easing, the slow and unremarkable release of a tension you carried without thinking. As one carries a set of keys in a coat pocket, forgotten until the weight is finally set down. And your shoulders, too, may wish to soften. Feel them now, wherever they are, however they have arranged themselves, and allow them to drift downward, just a little, as though they were settling into sand. Warm sand, soft sand, the kind that gives way slowly and completely, and holds the shape of whatever rests upon it. There is no effort in this. There is only settling. Breathe in now, if you like, a slow breath. Not a deep one, unless that feels right, but a gentle one, drawn in through the nose the way you might draw a curtain aside to look at the rain. There is no correct way to do this. There is only the doing of it, the air entering softly, filling the chest with something that feels less like effort and more like acceptance, like the body saying yes. This is what I was waiting for. this small and unhurried thing, and then let it go. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale, just slightly, the way a sentence sometimes trails off at the end, not because the thought is lost, but because the thought has arrived where it was going, and there is nothing more it needs to say. Breathe again and again. Each breath a little slower than the last. Each exhale a little more complete, until the rhythm of it becomes something you no longer need to think about, something the body remembers on its own. The way hands remember how to fold a familiar sheet of paper along its crease. The rain continues outside. The lamp continues its quiet amber work, and the room around you holds its shape. The carpet, the walls, the low table near the corner, and on the floor beside it, a flat cardboard box, half opened, resting where someone set it down earlier in the evening, its flaps bent back, like the pages of a book left open to a place that will be easy to find again. There is something gentle about a box like that, something ordinary and unhurried. It is not the kind of object that asks for attention. It simply waits. Inside, if you were to look, you might find pieces of pale wood, pressed and smooth, wrapped in thin plastic or nestled against one another with a kind of patient geometry. Panels that are not yet a shelf, legs that are not yet standing, dowels that are not yet holding anything together. They are potential resting, becoming slowly. And beside the box, a single sheet of instructions, printed on paper so thin it almost seems translucent in the lamplight, with diagrams that show, without words, or nearly without words, how the pieces wish to meet. A circle here, an arrow there, a small illustration of two hands pressing a wooden peg into a round hole, and beside it, the number 1. Just that. Step 1. The beginning of something quiet and ordinary and, in its own soft way, complete. Let your hands rest now. Feel them wherever they are. On the blanket, perhaps, or at your sides, or folded gently across your chest. Notice the weight of them, the warmth of the palms, the way each finger curves slightly inward, naturally, as fingers do, when they are not holding anything, not reaching for anything, simply being hands at rest. In a little while, we will think about those hands, and about other hands, and about the slow, familiar work of fitting one piece into another in a room much like this one, under lamplight, much like this, on an evening that felt as this one feels like enough. There was a time, a long time ago, in a part of the world where the forests are dense and pale, and birch trees stand in quiet rows, like thoughts waiting to be had. When a young man began something small, he did not begin it loudly or with any particular announcement. He was from the countryside, from a place where the farms had names that sounded like the land itself murmuring. Names with soft vowels and gentle consonants. Names you might hear in the wind if you stood still long enough at the edge of a field. And what he began was not much more than an idea that ordinary things, the things people used every day without thinking, the things that filled drawers and sat on tables and held other things inside them, could be made available to nearly anyone, carried home without help, and assembled in the quiet of an evening with nothing more than a set of hands and a little patience and the kind of attention that does not feel like effort but like rest. The idea did not arrive all at once. It grew the way a tree grows, which is to say slowly and from the ground, and with long years of silence between the visible changes. But the seed of it was there, even then, in the cool Swedish air, in the smell of birch and pine, in the plain quiet of a farmhouse, where things were made to be used, and used well, and never to be more than they needed to be. Just enough. Always just enough. But we are not there yet. We are here, in this room, in this lamplight, with the rain still touching the glass and the box still resting open on the floor and your body still settling, still softening, still finding its way toward the particular kind of stillness that arrives when the day has finished asking things of you and there is nothing left to give except the gentle weight of yourself against the bed. Your jaw is softer now. You may not have noticed the change, but it is there. A looseness where there was tension. A warmth where there was holding. Your shoulders have drifted lower. The muscles of your face, around your eyes, along your forehead, have begun to smooth the way the surface of water smooths when the wind dies down and there is nothing to disturb it. This is good. This is enough. There is nowhere further you need to go. There is only this room, this lamp, this gentle sound of rain, and the story, the quiet, unhurried story that will continue to unfold in the same way the evening continues to unfold. Without urgency, without destination, only the slow passage of one moment into the next. and the next, and the next. On the floor, the instruction sheet catches the light. Its paper is smooth and faintly cool, the kind of paper that feels like it was made to be unfolded and spread flat on a carpet just like this, under a lamp just like this, at an hour just like this, when the world outside has gone soft and the world inside has narrowed to a single quiet task. The diagrams on it are simple, almost impossibly simple. They show a panel, a dowel, a place where the two belong together, and the beauty of it, if beauty is the right word, and perhaps it is too large a word for something so small. So let us say the comfort of it, the ease of it, is that nothing is hidden. Every step follows the one before it. Every piece has a place. And the person looking at the instructions, whoever they are, in whatever room they happen to be sitting in, at whatever hour of whatever evening, needs only to begin. Just begin. The rest will come. Let your breathing settle now, a little deeper, a little slower, like footsteps on a path that has no end and no particular need to arrive. The lamp hums, or perhaps it is the refrigerator in the next room, or the rain itself, or the sound of your own breath moving through you like something warm and tidal and endlessly familiar. It does not matter which sound is which. They are all part of the same quiet. They are all part of this room, this evening, this gentle unfolding that asks nothing of you except that you remain here and rest and let the night do what the night does best, which is to hold everything still. Feel your hands again, the weight of them, the soft curl of the fingers. Somewhere in the world, in a town you have never visited, in a room you will never see, someone is pressing a small wooden dowel into a hole in a panel of birch-colored wood, and the fit is snug, and the sound it makes is a soft, satisfying click, barely a sound at all, really more a feeling in the fingertips, a small confirmation that this piece belongs here, that this is where it was always meant to go. And that is a comforting thought, is it not? That things have places, that pieces fit, that the quiet work of an evening, the turning of a screw, the aligning of an edge, the pressing of a dowel into its waiting hole, is its own kind of rest, its own kind of settling. You are settling now. You can feel it. The slow, warm pull of gravity drawing you deeper into the mattress, deeper into the pillow, deeper into the kind of stillness that is not empty, but full of warmth and quiet, and the faint amber light of a lamp that asks nothing of you, and the sound of rain that means nothing except that the world outside is soft, and the world inside is softer still. Your shoulders have found their place. Your jaw has found its ease. Your hands have found their rest, lying open and warm, holding nothing, needing nothing in the evening. This slow, kind, unremarkable evening has only just begun to tell you its story. And so the evening continues, unhurried. The shape of the room. The rain has not stopped. It has only become more familiar, the way a sound does when it has been with you long enough to stop being a sound and start being a kind of company. Quiet, undemanding, steady as the breathing of someone resting in the next room. The lamplight still holds the living room in its amber reach, touching the near edge of the carpet, the arm of the chair, the soft fold of a blanket draped over nothing in particular, and the cardboard box on the floor, which has not moved, which has no reason to move, which is simply there, in the way that familiar things are simply there, asking nothing, offering only the quiet fact of their presence. And you are here too, still here, still resting. Your body a little heavier now than it was a few minutes ago, a little more given over to the mattress beneath you, a little more willing to let the weight of the day settle downward and away, like silt drifting to the bottom of a glass of water that has finally been set down on a table and left alone. Feel your shoulders, not with your hands, just with your attention. That soft inner gaze that can visit any part of the body without effort. The way lamplight visits the edges of a room without being asked. Your shoulders are lower now than they were when you first lay down. Perhaps you noticed this, or perhaps the change was so gradual that it happened the way nightfall happens, not all at once, but in small, accumulating increments, each one so gentle it seemed like nothing. And yet together they have carried you from one state to another, from tension to ease, from holding to release. There may still be some tightness there. That is all right. There is no need to chase it away. Simply notice it, the way you might notice a small crease in a sheet of paper, not something that needs to be fixed. Just something that is there, something the body is still working through in its own time, at its own pace, with the kind of patience that bodies have always had, if only we let them. And as you notice it, You may find that it softens, not because you forced it to, but because attention itself is a kind of warmth. And warmth, given enough time, softens almost anything. Your hands are resting. You can feel them, the left one, the right one, each with its own particular weight, its own particular temperature, its own quiet history of the day, now fading. Perhaps the fingers are slightly curled, the way petals curl at the end of a long afternoon, not closing exactly, just easing inward, following a shape that feels natural and unforced and ancient in some way that has nothing to do with thinking. The palms may be warm. The backs of the hands may be cooler, resting against the sheet or the blanket or the open air of the room. And that difference, the warmth on one side, the coolness on the other, is itself a kind of sensation worth noticing, worth settling into, worth letting be. These hands have done things today. They have held things and carried things and opened things and closed things, and now they are doing the one thing that hands do best when the day is over, which is nothing, nothing at all. Just resting, just being still. And there is something deeply ordinary about that, something so plain and unremarkable that it might be easy to overlook. And yet it is also, if you let it be, one of the most comforting sensations available to a body at rest. The feeling of hands that have finished their work, lying open, lying warm, lying quiet in a room where the lamp is on and the rain is falling and there is no next thing, no task waiting, no errand unfinished. Only this, only now, only the gentle weight of fingers curving toward the palms, like small animals settling into sleep. The room around you has its own stillness, a stillness that is not empty, but textured, made up of small, overlapping presences. The hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, which is not so much a sound as a vibration, a low and constant murmur that the walls have absorbed and made their own. And the rain, still arriving at the window in its soft, patient way, each drop so light it is less a tap than a whisper, and the occasional creak of the building itself, settling the way all buildings settle at night, adjusting to the change in temperature, the shift in weight, the slow release of the day's accumulated warmth through the walls and the floor and the ceiling, and out into the cool, damp air beyond. These are not sounds that need your attention. They are only there. The way furniture is there, the way the walls are there, steady and familiar, and entirely without urgency. You may hear them or you may not. You may drift in and out of noticing them. And that drifting, that soft, easy movement between awareness and rest is itself a kind of breathing, a kind of rhythm, and you can trust it. You can let it carry you. On the carpet, near the base of the lamp, the instruction sheet lies where it was left. Its edges have curled slightly the way paper does in a warm room, and the diagrams printed on it are soft in the amber light, not quite sharp, not quite blurred, but somewhere in between, like a thought that has been considered and then gently released. Beside it, the small bag of wooden dowels rests against the side of the cardboard box. And if you were to pick one up, which you are not going to do, because your hands are resting, because there is no need, you would find it smooth and light, the color of pale birch, about the length of a finger, with a faint ridge along its surface, where the wood was pressed and shaped by a machine that someone, somewhere, a long time ago, designed for exactly this purpose, to turn a piece of wood into a connector, a small bridge between one panel and another, a quiet little instrument of joining. But you do not need to pick it up. You do not need to do anything with it at all. It is enough to know that it is there, resting in its bag among the other dowels, each one identical to the next, each one smooth and pale and perfectly content to wait, waiting with the same patience that the evening has, the same unhurried willingness to be exactly what it is, and nothing more. A small, quiet thing among other small, quiet things in a room that holds them all without effort. Let your breathing continue at whatever pace it has found. You do not need to guide it. You do not need to count it or measure it or shape it into anything other than what it already is. A slow, steady movement of air, in and out, as natural as the rain outside, as constant as the hum in the walls. And as you breathe, you may notice that your shoulders have softened even further, that the muscles along the tops of your arms have eased, that the space between your shoulder blades feels wider now, more open, as though the bones themselves have shifted apart by some small, imperceptible distance, making room for rest, making room for stillness, making room for the kind of deep, unhurried quiet that arrives only when the body knows, truly knows, without being told that the day is done. This knowing is not a thought. It is a feeling, a weight, a warmth, and it lives not in the mind, but in the muscles. in the joints, in the soft tissue between the ribs, where each breath opens a small, quiet space and then lets it close again, gently, like a door that swings on well-oiled hinges, back and forth, with no sound at all. Think of the living room again, if you like, or let it think of itself. The lamp, the carpet, the box, the rain. These are the furnishings of a particular kind of evening, the kind that does not announce itself or demand anything, but simply arrives the way dusk arrives, the way sleep arrives, without decision, without effort, only the slow accumulation of stillness upon stillness upon stillness, until the room and the body and the breath are all part of the same quiet thing. There is a life in a room like this. Not the life of events or milestones or turning points, but the smaller life, the one that happens between the noticeable moments, the life of a lamp switched on at the same hour each evening, of a blanket pulled up to the same height each night, of a pair of hands folding a sheet of instructions along its original crease and setting it aside, gently, the way you might set aside a letter you intend to return to, not because the letter is urgent, but because the act of returning to it is itself a kind of comfort, a kind of continuity, a thread that connects this evening to the next one, and the next one, and the one after that. This is the life of the room. Steady, familiar. Enough. Your hands are still. Your shoulders are low. The rain is steady, and the lamp is warm, and somewhere in the folds of the evening, in the quiet space between one breath and the next, there is a feeling, not a thought, not a word, just a feeling of being held. Not by anything in particular, not by arms or hands or walls, just by the ordinary accumulation of warmth and stillness and time and the soft, patient structure of a night that knows how to carry you without asking where you want to go. The box on the floor holds its pieces. The dowels rest in their bag. The instruction sheet waits with its simple diagrams, its numbered steps, its quiet promise that everything fits, that nothing is missing, that the work, when it comes, if it comes, will be slow and gentle and entirely within reach. But not now. Now there is only this. The room. The rain. The amber light. And your body resting here. Resting well. Resting the way it was always meant to rest, which is to say completely and simply and without any thought of what comes next. And so the quiet deepens softly the way it always does. A farm with a name. The lamp is still on. The rain has thinned to something even softer now. More mist than rain. A presence against the glass that is less a rhythm and more a kind of constant, quiet breath, the way fog breathes against a hillside, the way dew settles on grass in the hours before anyone is awake to notice it. The living room holds its same gentle shape around you. The carpet, the chair, the box on the floor with its flaps turned back, the instruction sheet resting beside it, and your body holds its shape too, though softer now, more given over to the bed beneath you, more willing to be still. Notice your chest, not with effort, not with any particular attention, but the way you might notice the sky through a window. It is simply there, rising and falling, rising and falling, in a rhythm so steady and so old that it hardly seems like movement at all, but more like the tide, more like something the earth does on its own, without asking, without deciding, only continuing the way it has always continued, the way it will always continue, gently and without hurry. In a country far to the north, where the winters are long and the light in summer lingers well past the hour when it should, by any reasonable measure, have gone to bed, there was once a farmstead. It was not a large farm. It sat in a region of southern Sweden where the soil was stony and the trees birch, mostly, and pine grew in dense, pale stands that caught the wind and held it, so that even on still days there was a faint murmur in the air, a sound like pages being turned very slowly in a distant room. The farm had a name, Elm-Terrace. It was the kind of name that belongs to a place the way bark belongs to a tree, not given exactly, but grown into, accumulated over years of use, until the name and the land became the same thing. Inseparable, quiet, rooted. And near the farm, a village, a Unhurried, a small place. A place where the houses were made of wood and the roads were made of dirt, and the distances between one neighbor and the next were long enough that you learned, without anyone telling you, to be resourceful with what you had, to make things last, to find a second use for what others might have set aside. A boy grew up there. His name was Ingvar, and he was the kind of child who noticed what things cost, not in a restless way, not with anxiety, but with a quiet, practical curiosity. The way a child who grows up near water notices the direction of the current. He would walk to neighboring farms or to the village, carrying small things to sell: matches, pencils, seeds, fish, ordinary things. Things that fit in a pocket or a satchel, things that weighed almost nothing, and yet had value because someone, somewhere, needed them. He would carry these things, not because he had to, but because there was a kind of satisfaction in it, a gentle, steady pleasure in the act of bringing something useful to a person who could use it, and receiving in return just enough to begin again. Just enough. That phrase again. It seemed to follow him, the way a melody follows a person who has heard it once and cannot quite let it go, not because the melody is remarkable, but because it fits, because it settles into the space between thoughts and rests. There, comfortable, familiar, like a hand resting on a tabletop. Let your belly soften now. You may notice, as you bring your attention there, that the muscles of your abdomen have been holding a small, quiet tension, not pain, not discomfort, just a kind of readiness, a bracing, as though the body were still prepared for the next thing the day might ask of it. But the day is not asking anything. The day is done, and so you can let that readiness go, the way you might let go of a breath that you did not realize you were holding, the way you might unclench a fist you did not realize was closed. Feel the belly rise with the inhale, gently, like a hill seen from a distance, rounded and soft and unhurried, and then feel it fall with the exhale, settling back toward the spine, toward the mattress, toward the warm, still center of your body, where nothing needs to happen and nothing is expected, and the only movement is the slow, tidal rhythm of breathing that the body knows so well it could do it, and does do it, without any help from you at all. Your lower back, too, may be holding something. A tightness, a curve, a small arch where the spine lifts away from the bed, as though still carrying something, still supporting something, still doing the work of holding you upright even though you are no longer upright, even though you are lying down, even though the mattress beneath you is perfectly willing to do that work for you. If only you let it. And so you let it. You feel the lower back ease downward, just slightly, just enough, and the mattress receives it the way the earth receives rain, quietly, completely, without comment. The boy from the farm, Ingvar, with his matches and his pencils and his steady, practical way of seeing the world, grew, as boys do, slowly, and mostly without anyone noticing. He began, at some point, to think not just about what things cost, but about why they cost what they did. He noticed that a table, a plain, ordinary table, the kind you might eat dinner on or set a lamp upon, was often priced beyond the reach of the people who needed it most. Not because the table was made of rare wood, or because it required extraordinary skill to build, but because of all the invisible things between the table and the person who wanted it. The middlemen, the showrooms, the delivery trucks, the markups that accumulated like dust on a shelf, quietly, invisibly, until the price of a simple table had become something other than simple. And he thought, not in a loud way, not in the way of a person who has had a revelation, but in the quiet, steady way of a person who has noticed a stone in a path and wonders whether it might be moved. He thought that perhaps the invisible things could be reduced, that the distance between the making of a thing and the having of a thing could be shortened, that if you let the person do some of the work themselves, carry the box, open the cardboard, press the dowel into the hole, then the table could be lighter, not just in weight, but in cost, in complexity, in the number of hands it had to pass through before it reached the one pair of hands that mattered most, which were the hands of the person who would use it in a room much like this one, under a lamp much like this one, on an evening when the rain was falling and the world was quiet and the only sound was the gentle click of a wooden peg finding its place. But that was later. For now, in the story, as in the evening, there was only the beginning, the farm, the village, the pale birch forests, and a young man walking a dirt road with a satchel of small, useful things, thinking thoughts that were not yet ideas, only feelings, only the faint murmur of something taking shape the way clouds take shape, slowly, and from nothing in particular, and with a kind of patience that is its own reward. The air around him smelled of pine and wet earth, and the sky above him was the color that Scandinavian skies become in the late afternoon of an autumn day. Not gray exactly, and not blue, but something in between, something soft and low and evenly lit, as though the light were coming not from the sun, but from the air itself, from the land itself, from the quiet, steady presence of a world that had learned over centuries of long winters and pale summers to make do with what it had, and to find in that making do a kind of beauty, a gentle beauty, a beauty that did not ask to be admired but only to be lived in, the way a well-made chair asks only to be sat in, the way a warm blanket asks only to be pulled up to the chin on a cool evening. Feel your chest again, the rise and fall of it, the way each breath opens a small space between the ribs, a space that feels warm and quiet and entirely your own, and then closes it again, gently, without effort, the way a book closes when you set it down on a nightstand, not with a snap, but with a soft, whispering sound. The pages settling against one another, the cover coming to rest, the story pausing but not ending, only waiting, only holding its place until you return to it. Your lower back has softened further. You can feel the mattress beneath it now, warm and steady, holding the shape of you the way the earth holds, the shape of a riverbed, not by force, but by patience, by the slow, constant pressure of something that has nowhere else to be and nothing else to do except receive what rests upon it. And the rain outside, thin now, almost not there, continues its quiet work against the glass. And the lamp continues its amber watch over the room. And the box on the floor continues to hold its pieces in their patient, ordered arrangement, waiting for hands that are not coming tonight. Because tonight is not for building, tonight is not for assembling. Tonight is for this, for rest, for quiet, for the slow, warm unspooling of a story that moves the way evening moves, which is to say gradually and without effort, and always towards stillness. The young man's name, in time, would become part of something larger, 4 letters drawn from the landscape of his childhood. His own initials, the name of the farm, the name of the village, pressed together into a single word, the way a carpenter presses pieces of wood together. Firmly, but without force, until they hold. But that word, and what it would come to mean, was still far off, still resting somewhere in the future, the way a seed rests in the ground before it knows what it will become. For now, there was only the farm, the dirt road, the satchel, the quiet satisfaction of carrying something useful from one place to another, and knowing that, at the end of the day, the work had been enough, not remarkable, not celebrated, just enough. And in the farmhouse, at the end of the road, in the kitchen, where the stove was warm and the table was plain, and the chairs were made of the same pale wood that grew in the forest just beyond the window, the evening would settle in the way evenings do in the country, slowly, completely, with the kind of fullness that has nothing to do with abundance and everything to do with sufficiency, with the feeling that what is here is what is needed, and what is needed is already here. The lamp in your room holds that same feeling now. The amber light, the still air, the quiet hum at the edge of hearing. Your belly rises. Your belly falls. Your chest opens. Your chest closes. And somewhere between the opening and the closing, between the rise and the fall, there is a place, a warm, still, unhurried place where the breath pauses, just for a moment, just long enough to notice that the pause itself is restful, that even the spaces between breaths are part of the breathing, that even the silence between sounds is part of the quiet, and that the story, like the evening, like the rain, like the slow work of a young man carrying matches down a country road, is in no hurry to arrive anywhere at all. And so the story continues, gently, the way a path continues through quiet trees. The legs come off. The living room is quieter now, if that is possible. Quieter in the way that late evening is quieter than early evening. Not because the sounds have changed, but because you have sunk deeper into them, the way a stone sinks into soft ground, slowly, steadily, until it becomes part of what holds it. The lamp still casts its amber light across the carpet, across the half-open box, across the instruction sheet, with its simple diagrams, and the mist outside the window has become so fine, so nearly invisible, that it is no longer a weather, but a feeling, a faint coolness at the glass, a softness in the air beyond the room that makes the warmth inside feel more like warmth, more like something chosen, something kept. And you are here, still here. Your body heavier now, more fully given over to rest, the weight of you pressing gently and completely into the bed, the way a hand presses into dough, slowly, warmly, with a kind of patient pressure that asks for nothing except yielding. Feel your hips. Let your attention drift there now, to that broad, steady part of the body where the weight of the torso meets the weight of the legs, where the bones are large and solid and deeply seated, like the foundation stones of a house that has stood for a long time and intends to stand for a long time more. Your hips may be holding something, a tightness on one side, a faint tension in the joint, a feeling of compression where the body has been carrying itself all day, walking, sitting, climbing stairs, shifting from one position to another in the 1,000 small adjustments that a day requires, and that the body performs without complaint, without recognition, without rest, until now. Until this moment, when the day is finished, and the lamp is on, and the rain has become mist, and there is nothing left to carry, nothing left to support, nothing left to do except let the hips be heavy, let them settle, let them release whatever they have been holding into the mattress beneath you, which accepts it all, which has always accepted it all. The way the ground accepts the weight of fallen leaves in autumn, quietly, gradually, without any fuss at all. There was a day, no one remembers the exact date, because it was not the kind of day that anyone thought to mark on a calendar when a man was trying to fit a table into the back of a car. It was a small car, the kind that was common in Sweden in those years, and the table was not especially large, but its legs were attached, and the legs made it awkward, made it tall, made it the wrong shape for the space that was available. The man stood in a parking area outside a workshop, one of those early places where the young company displayed its furniture. Not in a showroom with polished floors and overhead lighting, but in a converted barn or a warehouse. A plain, practical space where the tables and chairs and shelves stood on wooden floorboards, and the light came through windows that were not designed for showing things off, but for letting in enough daylight to work by. And the man looked at the table, and he looked at the car, and he did what people do when two things do not fit together, which is to pause, to consider, To turn the problem over in his mind the way you might turn a wooden block in your hands, feeling for the angle, the grain, the place where the shape might yield. And then, quietly, without announcement, he removed the legs. It was that simple. He unscrewed them, or unbolted them. The details have softened over the years, the way the edges of a well-handled tool soften with use, and he set the legs alongside the tabletop, and the tabletop slid into the car, and the legs fit beside it, and the door closed, and the table and the car were no longer at odds with each other, but were instead companions, traveling together down a road in the Swedish countryside, past birch trees, past stone walls, past fields, where the grass was short and the sky was wide and pale. And somewhere in that moment, in the quiet click of the bolt being loosened, in the gentle separation of leg from tabletop, in the satisfying way the flat pieces nestled together in the trunk, an idea settled into place. Not a loud idea, not one that arrived with any sense of its own importance. Just a thought, plain and practical, that the space inside a box matters, that the air between things is a cost, that if you could make a table lie flat, you could fit more of the world into less of the world, and the carrying the long, slow work of getting a thing from where it was made to where it would be used became easier, lighter, more like something a person could do alone, on a quiet evening, without help, without hurry. Your spine is long. You can feel it now if you let your attention travel from the base of your skull, where the neck meets the head, downward, slowly, vertebra by vertebra, the way a hand might trail along a banister, not gripping, just touching, just following the shape of it down through the upper back, where the shoulder blades rest like two wings folded flat against the ribs, and down through the middle back, where the curve of the spine is gentle and the muscles on either side are softening, releasing, letting go of the day's accumulated effort, and down further still to the lower back, which we visited earlier and which is softer now, closer to the mattress, more willing to be supported, and down to the base of the spine, where it meets the pelvis, where the body's weight gathers and pools like water collecting in the low point of a meadow. Warm, still, heavy with the particular kind of heaviness that is not a burden but a relief. The heaviness of something that has finally been set down. Feel that heaviness. Let it be there. Let it spread through the hips, through the pelvis, through the broad, solid bones that hold you and have always held you and will continue to hold you through the night. Steady and quiet and entirely without effort, the way the floor holds a bookcase, the way a shelf holds a row of books, the way the earth holds everything that rests upon it, patiently, completely, without ever asking to be thanked. In the early years, the places where furniture was shown to people who might want to buy it were not what you might imagine. They were barns, some of them workshops with plain walls and concrete floors. A person would walk in from the outside, from the cool Swedish air, and find themselves in a room where tables stood on simple legs and chairs were arranged, not for display but for sitting, and bookshelves, those earliest bookshelves, not yet the ones you might recognize, but their ancestors, their quiet predecessors, leaned against walls with a kind of patient uprightness, as though they had been standing there for a long time and were content to stand there for a long time more. And beside the furniture, cardboard boxes, flat ones, the kind you could tuck under an arm or slide into the back seat of a small car, the kind with flaps that folded over one another in a pattern that was itself a small lesson in geometry. This flap over that one, this tab into that slot, the whole thing held together not by tape or glue or force, but by the logic of the fold itself. By the way the cardboard wanted to close, the way it remembered its creases, the way it returned again and again to the shape it had been given, folding cardboard. There is a quietness to it, a satisfaction. The way the panels meet, the way the edges align, the way the box becomes a box, not suddenly, not all at once, but through a sequence of small, deliberate movements, each one following the one before it, each one as gentle and predictable as the next breath you take, the next slow beat of your heart, the next soft settling of your hips into the warmth of the bed beneath you. And inside those flat boxes, inside the cardboard, inside the creases, inside the patient geometry of the fold, the furniture waited, not assembled, not finished, but present in all its pieces, with all its potential the way a sentence waits inside the letters of the alphabet, the way a melody waits inside the notes of a scale. A panel of birch-colored pressboard, smooth to the touch, light enough to lift with one hand. A set of wooden dowels and a small plastic bag, each one identical to the next, each one the length of a finger, each one waiting for the moment when it would be pressed into a hole and become, for the first time, part of something larger than itself. A handful of screws, a thin metal rod, and the instructions, always the instructions, printed on a single sheet of paper that unfolded like a map to a place you had never been, but that somehow felt familiar. Because the diagrams were simple, because the steps were numbered, because the hands in the illustrations looked like anyone's hands, and the room in which the work was being done looked like any room. Looked like this room, with its lamp and its carpet and its quiet, amber stillness. Let your breathing continue. You do not need to think about it. The body breathes the way the night arrives, without announcement, without decision, only the slow, steady continuation of something that has already begun and knows how to carry itself forward. Your hips are heavy. Your spine is long. The muscles along your sides, the ones that wrap around the rib cage and connect the chest to the back, have softened into a kind of warmth, a kind of release, as though the body were a house that is finished cooling for the night and has settled at last into its resting temperature. Every beam and joist and floorboard finding its place, every joint easing by some fraction of a degree, every surface releasing the last of the day's stored heat into the quiet air. This is what rest feels like. Not the absence of something, but the presence of something. The presence of stillness. The presence of warmth. The presence of a body that knows it is held. And a room that knows it is enough. And an evening that knows it has nowhere to go except deeper into itself. Further into the quiet. Closer to the place where breathing and silence become the same thing. The instruction sheets in those early days were drawn by hand, or nearly so. Simple lines, simple shapes, simple arrows pointing from one step to the next. with the patience and clarity of someone who understood that the person reading them would be sitting on a floor, or kneeling beside a half-assembled shelf, or lying on their stomach with the paper spread flat in front of them, and that the light might be dim, and the hour might be late, and the only sounds might be the faint click of a dowel and the quiet breathing of someone working slowly, contentedly, without any need to rush. The drawings showed hands. Always hands. Not faces, not names, not words in any particular language. Just hands, holding a panel, pressing a peg, turning an Allen key with the slow, circular motion that is itself a kind of meditation, a kind of rhythm, a repetition so gentle and so steady that it could be done half asleep, could be done in the last hour of a long day, could be done by anyone, anywhere, in any room where there was a flat surface and a little light and the quiet willingness to begin. The lamp in your room is dimmer now, or perhaps it only seems that way because your eyes have been closed for a while, and the world behind your eyelids has become its own kind of room. Warm, dark, soft, lit only by the faint amber that filters through the way sunlight filters through curtains on a morning when there is no reason to wake. The box on the floor still holds its pieces. The dowels still rest in their bag. The instruction sheet still waits with its numbered steps, its patient arrows, its quiet assurance that every piece has a place, that nothing is missing, that the work, whenever it begins, will be slow and orderly and deeply, comfortingly familiar, and your hips are heavy on the mattress, and your spine is long and warm and still, and the mist outside the window is so fine now that it is almost nothing, almost just the memory of rain, almost just the feeling of a world that has finished with its weather for the night and settled, like you, into the kind of stillness that asks for nothing and offers everything, which is to say warmth and quiet and the slow, repeating comfort of a breath drawn in and a breath let go, drawn in and let go, drawn in and let go, as steady as the turning of a screw, as gentle as the folding of cardboard along its crease. And so the evening folds onward, one quiet step following the last, box upon box, The mist has quieted itself to nothing, or nearly nothing, a stillness against the glass that is no longer weather, but simply the memory of weather. The way a room remembers the scent of something baked long after the oven has cooled. The lamp holds its amber glow. The living room holds its shape. The box on the floor, the instruction sheet, the small bag of dowels, all of them rest where they have rested all evening. Unchanged, unhurried, as patient as furniture itself, which is to say infinitely patient, which is to say willing to wait for as long as waiting takes, without complaint, without restlessness, without any sense that time is passing at all. And your body rests too, deeper now than before, the chest rising and falling with a rhythm that has become so steady, so familiar, that it no longer feels like something you are doing, and more like something that is being done through you. The way wind moves through trees, the way water moves through a riverbed, not by force, not by will, but by the quiet, constant pull of something larger and older and gentler than any single breath. Notice your chest now. The broad, open surface of it, the way the ribs expand with each inhale, not dramatically, not with effort, but with the kind of gentle widening that a house undergoes in summer when the warmth gets into the wood and the floorboards ease apart by fractions. Too small to see, but large enough to feel. If you were to lie on them and press your cheek to the grain and listen, your chest is doing that now, expanding, softening, opening, and with each expansion there is a moment, brief and warm, where the lungs are full and the body is still and nothing needs to happen. Nothing at all. And then the exhale comes slowly, and the ribs settle inward again, and the belly drops, and the whole quiet cycle begins once more. This is the rhythm of rest. It does not need your attention. It does not need your help. It only needs your willingness to let it continue. The way a river needs nothing from the stones in its bed except that they remain where they are, still and smooth and content to be shaped by what passes over them. In those years, the years after the idea of the flat box and the removable legs, the years when the small company was still finding its way, there were warehouses. Not the kind you might picture now, not vast, or brightly lit, or humming with machinery, but modest buildings in modest towns. Places where the ceilings were high enough to stack boxes and the floors were concrete, and the light came from long fluorescent tubes that buzzed faintly. The way a refrigerator buzzes, the way the lamp in your room hums at the very edge of hearing. And in these warehouses, people worked. They moved boxes from one place to another. They stacked them on wooden pallets, aligning the edges so that the corners met and the surfaces were flush, and the whole arrangement, box upon box upon box, became a kind of architecture. A quiet geometry of cardboard and weight and patience, rising from the floor in neat, steady columns, the way paragraphs rise on a page, one line after another, each one supporting the next. The boxes themselves were changing, slowly, the way everything in this story changes, not with any single decision, but through the accumulation of small observations, small adjustments, small moments where someone noticed that a panel could be nested more closely against another panel if the angle were shifted by a degree, or that the empty space at the corner of a box could be filled with a bag of hardware, screws, dowels, brackets, so that nothing was wasted, so that every cubic centimeter of cardboard contained something useful, something that would eventually find its place in a room, in a home, in the quiet, amber-lit evening of someone's life. Reduce the air in the box. That was the phrase, though no one said it in exactly those words. It was more a feeling than a rule, a principle that lived in the hands of the people who packed the boxes, and the people who designed the boxes, and the people who stacked the boxes on the warehouse floor, their movements slow and steady and repetitive in the way that all warehouse work is repetitive. The same motion, the same lift, the same careful placement, again and again and again, until the rhythm of it becomes a kind of music, a kind of pulse, as steady and as unthinking as the beating of a heart. Let your belly be soft. Let it rise and fall with the breath, the way the surface of a lake rises and falls with a breeze so faint it is barely there. Not waves, not ripples, just a gentle, slow undulation, a movement so small and so constant that it could be mistaken for stillness. Your belly has been working all day, not in ways you noticed, not in ways that demanded attention, but in the quiet, invisible way that all the body's core works, holding you upright, absorbing the jolts and shifts of movement, supporting the spine, cradling the organs, doing the 1,000 small tasks that keep a person vertical and balanced and moving through the world. Now it can stop. Now the muscles there can ease. The way muscles ease when you step into warm water, not all at once, but in layers. The outer ones first, and then the deeper ones. The ones closer to the spine. The ones that hold the last, most stubborn tension. The tension you did not even know was there until it begins to leave. And you feel, in its departure, a warmth, a softness, a spreading sense of release that is not dramatic, but is thorough, is complete, is enough. The company grew, not quickly, not in the way that stories about companies usually describe growth, not with sharp lines on graphs or sudden expansions into new territories, but the way a garden grows, which is to say unevenly and seasonally, and with long stretches of quiet between the visible changes. A new building here, a new arrangement there, someone in a workshop discovering that if you cut the panels from a larger sheet in a particular pattern, the waste was smaller, the offcuts fewer, the amount of useful wood per sheet a little greater. Someone else noticing that the instructions could be clearer if the arrows were thicker, if the numbering were larger, if the small illustration of two hands holding a dowel were drawn from a slightly different angle, so that the viewer could see exactly where the peg was meant to go. These were not the kinds of changes that anyone would remember individually. They were the kind that accumulated, silently, like snow on a field, each flake too light to feel, too small to see, but together, over time, enough to change the shape of the landscape. And in living rooms like this one, with lamps like this one, on evenings like this one, people opened boxes. They knelt on carpets and unfolded instruction sheets and sorted panels from smallest to largest, laying them out across the floor the way a tailor lays out pieces of a pattern. Each one in its place, each one waiting for the moment when it would be joined to the next. They held dowels between their fingers and felt the smoothness of the wood. The slight ridge along the surface, the satisfying weight of something that was small, but not trivial, something that had a purpose, a destination, a hole in a panel that was exactly the right size to receive it. And the work was slow, pleasantly slow, the kind of slow that arrives when there is no deadline and no audience and no one watching, only the quiet satisfaction of fitting one piece into another and hearing or feeling. because the sound was almost too soft to be called a sound. The gentle click of alignment. The small confirmation that this is right. This is where it goes. This is how the thing is made. And then the next piece, and then the next, and the breath continuing, and the lamp continuing, and the evening continuing, all of it moving at the same unhurried pace, all of it part of the same gentle, ongoing work of making a room into a home. Your chest rises. Your chest falls. The rhythm is so steady now that it feels less like breathing and more like being breathed. More like the body has taken over entirely and the mind is free to drift, to soften, to settle into the warm, dark space behind the eyes, where thoughts become slow and shapeless and gentle. Your belly is soft. The muscles there have released whatever they were holding, and in their place is a warmth, a weight, a feeling of fullness that has nothing to do with food or drink, but everything to do with rest. With the body's own quiet acknowledgement that the day is over, that the evening is deep, that there is nothing left to hold or carry or support, except the gentle, steady weight of yourself, lying here, breathing here, resting in a room where the lamp is amber and the air is still, and the flat cardboard box on the floor holds its pieces with the same patience it has held them all evening, which is the patience of things that know they will be needed. Eventually, and are content, perfectly, quietly content to wait. Somewhere in a warehouse, in a country you may never visit, a person is stacking boxes. It is not late there, or perhaps it is. It does not matter. What matters is the rhythm of the work, the way the person lifts each box with both hands, feeling the weight of it, the balance of it, the way the contents have been packed, so that the weight is even, so that nothing shifts, so that the box sits squarely on the one beneath it, and the one above sits squarely on it, and the column rises, steady and plumb, like a stack of books on a nightstand, like a pile of folded blankets at the foot of a bed. Each box is the same size as the last. Each one weighs roughly the same. And there is something soothing in that sameness. Something restful in the knowledge that the next box will feel like the one before, that the hands will know where to grip, that the arms will know how much to lift, that the body can settle into the motion the way your body has settled into this bed. Not thinking, not deciding, only doing what it already knows how to do. The person does not think about where the box will go. The person does not think about the room it will end up in, or the hands that will open it, or the evening, the quiet, lamplit evening, when someone will kneel on a carpet and unfold the instructions and begin, slowly, patiently, to build something ordinary and useful and enough. The person only stacks, only lifts and places and aligns. And in that lifting, in that placing, in that careful alignment of edge to edge and corner to corner, there is a steadiness that is its own reward, a rhythm that is its own kind of rest, a repetition that soothes the way all gentle repetition soothes, the way breathing soothes, the way the sound of rain soothes, the way the slow, tidal rise and fall of your belly soothes you now, here, in this room, in this quiet, in this amber-lit hour that belongs to no one but you. The lamp holds the room holds the box holds its pieces, and you are held by all of it, by the warmth and the stillness and the soft hum at the edge of hearing, and the gentle, ongoing fact of your own breathing, which continues and continues and continues, the way all quiet things continue, without effort, without thought, without any need to be anything other than exactly what they are. And so the growth continues, quiet and steady, like a breath that knows its way. The dowel that swelled. The night outside the window is dry now, and still, the kind of stillness that arrives when the rain and the mist have both finished, and the air has nothing left to do but rest against the glass, cool and quiet and entirely without movement. The lamp still glows. The living room still holds its gentle shape around you. The same carpet, the same chair, the same cardboard box on the floor with its flaps turned softly back, the instruction sheet beside it, the bag of dowels leaning against the corner of the box the way a sleeping cat leans against the arm of a sofa, not because it needs to, but because the leaning is comfortable. And the comfort is reason enough. And your body is here, still here, deeper into rest than it has been all evening. The weight of you, so fully given to the mattress that the boundary between your body and the bed has grown soft, has grown indistinct, has become less a line and more a warmth, a merging, a gentle blurring of where you end and where the rest begins. Let your attention drift now to your legs, to your thighs. First, those broad, heavy muscles that have carried you through the day, that have lifted you from chairs and lowered you onto them again, that have climbed and descended and shifted and steadied, performing the constant, quiet labor of keeping a body moving through the hours. Feel them now, resting. Feel the weight of them against the mattress, the way the muscles on the tops of the thighs have begun to soften, to spread, to release their holding, the way warm butter releases its shape on a plate, slowly, gently, without any particular moment of change, only the gradual, steady easing of something that was firm into something that is soft. Your thighs are heavy. That heaviness is good. It is the heaviness of muscles that have done their work and are finished, that have nothing left to carry and nowhere left to go, that are content, deeply, quietly content to lie here, to be still, to let the night hold them, the way the mattress holds them, which is completely and patiently and without any expectation at all. There were times in the life of the quiet company when things did not go as planned. This is not unusual. It is, in fact, the most ordinary thing in the world. As ordinary as a screw that does not thread on the first try. As ordinary as a panel that arrives with a small nick on one corner. As ordinary as an instruction sheet that has been printed with step 4 and step 5 in the wrong order, so that the person kneeling on the carpet pauses, looks at the diagram, looks at the pieces in front of them, and then, without frustration, without urgency, simply turns the page, finds the correct step, and continues. These are the kinds of things that happen, not because anyone has failed, and not because anything is broken, but because the making of things, the long, slow, patient making of things that will eventually end up in rooms like this one, under lamps like this one, involves so many small steps, so many hands, so many moments of alignment and adjustment and quiet correction, that the occasional misstep is not a problem, but a part of the process. The way a rest is part of a piece of music. The way a pause is part of a conversation. The way the space between breaths is part of breathing. There was a time when the wood that arrived at the workshops was not quite right. Not wrong. Exactly. Not damaged or defective, but slightly different from what had been expected. the grain running at an angle that made the panels a little harder to cut cleanly. The color a shade lighter or darker than the batch before. And the people who worked with the wood, the people whose hands knew the feel of birch and pine the way a gardener's hands know the feel of soil, would pause. They would hold the panel up to the light. They would run a thumb along the edge, feeling for roughness, for splinters, for these small imperfections that only a hand can detect. And then they would adjust. A different blade, a slower feed, a slightly altered angle on the saw so that the cut was clean and the edge was smooth and the panel, when it was finished, looked and felt the way it was meant to look and feel. Not perfect, because perfection was never the point, but right, sufficient, good enough to become part of something that someone would live with, would set things upon, would pass by every day without thinking, which is the highest compliment a piece of furniture can receive. To be so well suited to its place that it becomes invisible, that it becomes simply part of the room, part of the quiet, part of the ordinary landscape of a life. Feel your knees. They are soft now, or softening. The joints slightly bent or slightly straight. However, they have arranged themselves, and the tendons around them, those quiet, hard-working tendons that flex and extend and absorb the small shocks of every step, are easing, loosening, releasing the day's accumulated effort the way a rope loosens when the weight it was supporting has been gently set down. Your knees do not need to hold anything right now. They do not need to bend or straighten or brace or lock. They are simply resting the way hinges rest when a door is left open, the way joints rest when the structure they belong to has been allowed to settle into its own weight, its own stillness, its own quiet, unhurried equilibrium. And below the knees, your calves, those steady, faithful muscles at the backs of your lower legs, the ones that work all day without recognition, that push off from floors and press down on pedals and hold you upright on stairs and slopes and uneven ground. Feel them now. Feel the way they are beginning to soften, to grow warm, to release the small, persistent tension that lives in the lower legs the way the hum of a refrigerator lives in the walls of a house. Always there, barely noticed, until the moment it stops. And in its stopping, you feel the relief of its absence, like a warmth, like a lightness, like the sudden awareness that something you had been carrying has been quietly taken from you, not by force, but by the simple passage of time and the gentle, accumulated permission of rest. There were seasons when the boxes did not arrive on schedule. Storms on roads, snow in mountain passes, a ship delayed by weather in a harbor somewhere along the coast, its hold filled with flat-packed furniture waiting to be carried to the next place, the next warehouse, the next stack of pallets in a building where the fluorescent lights buzz softly, and the concrete floor was cool, and the work continued. At the same steady pace, it always continued, whether the shipment was on time, or a day late, or a week late, because the pace was the point, because the steadiness was the point, because the people who did this work understood, in the way that all people who do repetitive, physical, patient work understand that urgency solves nothing, that patience cannot solve better, and that the box will arrive when the box arrives, and the person waiting for it, the person in the living room, on the carpet, under the lamp, will still be there, will still have an evening, will still have a set of hands and a sheet of instructions and the quiet willingness to begin. And so the waiting was not a hardship. It was an adjustment, a recalibration, a small shift in the rhythm that required only the kind of patience that the company had been practicing all along. The patience of the flat box, the patience of the wooden dowel, the patience of the instruction sheet that lies on the carpet and does not hurry, does not urge, does not insist, but simply shows in its quiet, diagrammatic way what happens next, and trusts that the hands will follow. Your thighs are heavy, your knees are soft, your calves are warm. The whole length of your legs, from the hips to the feet, has begun to feel like something continuous and still, like a river that has slowed to the point where its surface is indistinguishable from the land around it. So calm, so flat, so perfectly at rest that it reflects the sky above it with a clarity that only stillness can achieve. And the sky, if there were a sky here, if the ceiling above you were to open and show you the night, would be dark and quiet and filled with the kind of soft, diffuse light that cities give off when they are mostly asleep. A glow that is not bright enough to see by, but bright enough to know that the world is still there, still holding its shape, still turning at its slow, imperceptible pace through the hours that belong to rest and silence, and the gentle, ongoing work of the body, putting itself back together after the long, ordinary effort of a day. Sometimes a dowel did not fit. Sometimes the hole in the panel was a fraction too tight, or the dowel itself had swollen slightly from moisture in the air during a long sea crossing, and the person kneeling on the carpet would press it gently, feel the resistance, and pause. Not with frustration, with patience. The kind of patience that comes from knowing that wood is a living material, that it breathes and swells and contracts with the seasons, that it carries in its fibers the memory of the tree it once was, and the forest that tree stood in, and the rain that fell on that forest in some quiet, far-off season that no one recorded and no one remembers, and the person would press again, little more firmly, or would set the dowel aside and try the next one, which was identical in every measurable way, and yet somehow, in the way of all natural things, just slightly different, just enough to slide into the hole with a soft, satisfying fit, and the shelf would begin to take shape, and the evening would continue, and the lamp would go on glowing, and the body, your body, the body of the person assembling, the body of anyone who has ever knelt on a floor and built something ordinary with their hands would go on breathing, slowly, steadily, the way all bodies breathe when they are doing something gentle, something repetitive, something that asks nothing of the mind except that it be quiet and present and still. The lamp is steady. The room is warm. The night outside is dry and still and deeply, quietly dark. The kind of dark that is not frightening but enclosing. The kind that wraps around a house, the way a blanket wraps around a body, holding everything inside it in a soft, gentle compression that feels less like darkness and more like privacy, like the world has drawn its curtains and left this room, this lamp, this quiet, amber-lit space to be entirely its own, and your legs are heavy on the mattress, your thighs and your knees and your calves all resting in the same unhurried way, all softening into the same warmth, all held by the same patient, gentle gravity that holds everything at rest. The box on the floor, the dowels in their bag, the instruction sheet with its numbered steps, and you here. Now, breathing, resting, letting the evening carry you the way it has carried this whole quiet story, which is to say, slowly and gently, and with the kind of steady patience that never needs to announce itself, because it is simply there, the way the ground is there, the way the night is there, the way rest itself is there, waiting, always waiting, for the moment when you are ready to receive it. And so the patience holds steady as the night itself. Rooms you cannot see. The lamp is still on. It has been on all evening, and its amber glow has become so familiar now, so deeply part of the room, that it no longer seems like a light that was switched on by a hand at a particular hour, but more like something that has always been here. A warmth that belongs to the room the way the carpet belongs to the floor, the way the walls belong to the house, the way your breathing belongs to you. The living room holds its gentle shape. The box on the floor, the instruction sheet, the small bag of dowels. They rest as they have rested all this time, patient and still unchanged by the passing of the hours, undisturbed by anything except the faint amber light that touches their surfaces and makes them look soft and close and warm, and you are here, deeper now than before. The weight of you so fully settled that it would take an effort to move, and there is no reason to move, no need, no want, only the quiet, heavy, deeply ordinary feeling of a body that has found its place and is content to remain there, breathing, resting, letting the night do its slow, familiar work. Feel your feet. They are at the far end of your body, the farthest point from your head, and yet they are here too. Present, warm, resting against the sheet or tucked beneath the blanket or lying open and still at the end of your legs, the way two boats rest at the end of a dock. Not going anywhere, not being asked to go anywhere, only floating gently in the warmth that surrounds them. Your feet have done more today than perhaps any other part of you. They have carried the full weight of your body across floors and sidewalks and stairs, absorbing each step, each shift, each small adjustment of balance that the day required. And they did this without complaint, without attention, without any recognition at all, because that is what feet do. They work quietly, steadily, faithfully, and they ask for nothing in return except this, exactly this. The chance to rest at the end of the day in a warm, still place where nothing is expected of them and nothing needs to be done. Feel the soles of your feet, the arches, which may still hold a faint tension, a residual curve from the hours of standing and walking, and which you can now allow to soften, to flatten, to release that, hold in the way a bridge releases its tension when the weight it was supporting has crossed to the other side, and the structure can simply rest, simply exist as a shape without a purpose, at least for now, at least for tonight. And the toes, each one with its own small weight, its own small warmth, curling or uncurling, or simply lying still. However they have arranged themselves, and the spaces between the toes, warm and quiet, and the tops of the feet, where the skin is thin and the bones are close to the surface, and the ankles, those steady, articulate joints that have flexed and rotated and adjusted all day and are now, at last, still. In a living room, not this one, but one much like it, in a city or a town or a village, on an evening much like this one, a person is kneeling on a carpet. The box has been opened. The pieces have been laid out. The instruction sheet is spread flat on the floor beside them, and the lamp, a floor lamp, or a table lamp, or the overhead light turned low, casts its glow across the panels and the dowels and the small bag of screws. And the person is turning the screw, slowly, with an Allen key, that small, L-shaped piece of metal that fits in the palm and turns with a motion that is part of the wrist and part of the fingers and part of something older and deeper, something the hand knows without being taught, the way it knows how to stir a pot or wind a thread or turn a key in a lock. The screw enters the wood slowly. Each turn moves at a small distance, a fraction of a thread, and the sound it makes is quiet, a faint, circular whisper, metal against wood, pressure becoming grip, grip becoming hold. And the person does not rush. There is no reason to rush. The evening is long, and the work is gentle, and the screw will arrive at the depth it needs to reach in its own time, at its own pace, with its own quiet certainty that every turn brings it closer to where it belongs. This is happening now, tonight, in rooms you cannot see, in a flat in a northern city where the windows are dark and the radiator hums, and a young woman is assembling a bookcase, her first bookcase in her first apartment, and the panels are the color of pale birch, and the dowels are smooth, and the instruction sheet is spread on the floor beside her knees, and she is pressing a dowel into a hole with her thumb, and the fit is snug, and the click it makes is soft, barely there, but she feels it in the pad of her thumb, in the bones of her hand, in the quiet satisfaction that travels up the arm and settles somewhere in the chest. A warmth, a rightness, a feeling that this is how things are made, one piece at a time, one step at a time, one evening at a time. And in another room, in another city, a man and his daughter are building a small table together. The daughter holds the panel while the father turns the screw, and the Allen key makes its slow, circular journey. And neither of them speaks, because the work does not require speaking, because the silence between them is not empty, but full of the small sounds of assembly, the whisper of the screw, the tap of a dowel, the faint rustle of the instruction sheet being turned to the next step. And these sounds are enough, are more than enough, are a kind of language that the hands speak and the ears understand, and the body receives the way it receives warmth, the way it receives rest, the way it receives the slow, familiar comfort of an evening spent doing something ordinary and quiet and good. And in another room, and in another, rooms with carpets, and rooms with hardwood floors, and rooms with tiles, rooms where the light is amber, and rooms where the light is white, rooms in winter and rooms in summer, rooms where the rain is falling, and rooms where the night is still, and in every one of them the same quiet scene, the box, the panels, the dowels, the instruction sheet, the hands, the slow turning of the screw, the gentle pressing of the peg, the patient, unhurried work of making a flat thing into a standing thing, a collection of pieces into a shelf, a table, a cabinet, a place where books will rest and cups will sit, and the small, ordinary objects of a life will find their home. This is what the quiet company made possible. Not anything remarkable, not anything that demanded attention or admiration. Only this, only the chance for a person, any person, in any room, on any evening, to open a box and begin, to follow the steps, to feel the dowel slide into its hole, and hear the soft click, and know, without thinking, without analyzing, without needing to be told, that this is right, this fits, this belongs. Your feet are warm. Your ankles are still. Muscles of your calves, which we visited earlier, have softened even further, have become part of the general warmth and heaviness that now extends from your hips to your toes. A continuous, unbroken line of rest, of release, of the body's quiet acknowledgement that the day is finished and the night has come, and there is nothing left to do except lie here and breathe and let the weight of yourself be held by the bed beneath you, the way the weight of a book is held by a shelf, completely. Simply, without any effort at all, feel your toes again, the small warmth of them, the way they rest against one another or apart from one another. However they have chosen to arrange themselves, and the way that arrangement, whatever it is, feels right, feels natural, feels like the body's own quiet wisdom expressing itself in the smallest possible way, in the farthest possible place from the mind, in the part of you that is closest to the ground, closest to the earth, closest to the steady, ancient pull of gravity that has been holding you, holding all of us, holding everything since long before there were rooms, or lamps, or boxes, or the quiet, satisfying sound of a wooden dowel finding its place in a hole that was made to receive it. The screw turns in a room you cannot see, in a city you have not visited, on an evening that is also this evening. The screw turns. The Allen key moves in its slow, small circle, and the metal threads catch the wood, and the wood receives the metal, and the two things that were separate become one thing, become joined, become part of a larger structure that is not yet finished, but is becoming slowly, the way all things become, not all at once, not with any single decisive moment, but through the accumulation of small turns, small pressures, small acts of patience repeated over and over in the amber light of a lamp that hums so faintly it might not be humming at all. And the person turning the screw does not think about the company that made the pieces, or the warehouse where the box was stacked, or the forest where the wood once grew. The person thinks only of the turn, only of the feel of the Allen key in the hand, only of the slow, steady progress of the screw into the wood, which is the same slow, steady progress of the evening into the night, which is the same slow, steady progress of your breathing, in and out, each breath a small turn, each exhale a small settling, each moment a quiet confirmation that everything is where it should be, that nothing is missing, that the work, the gentle, patient, ordinary work of rest is proceeding exactly as it should. The lamp glows. The room is warm. The box on the floor holds its remaining pieces. The instruction sheet lies still on the carpet, its diagrams soft in the amber light, its arrows pointing gently from one step to the next. And your feet are warm, and your legs are heavy, and your body is so deeply at rest now that the boundary between waking and sleeping has grown thin, has grown soft, has become like the boundary between lamplight and shadow, not a line, but a gradation, a slow, gentle fading from one state into another, from here into there, from this into something quieter still. And so the evening turns gently toward its softest hour. Everything in its place. The lamp is dimmer now, or perhaps it is the same, and it is only you who have changed. Your eyes closed for so long that the light behind the lids has softened to almost nothing. A faint amber haze, a warmth more felt than seen. The way the last ember of a fire is more warmth than light, more memory than flame. The living room is still here. The carpet, the chair, the box on the floor with its flaps turned gently back, the instruction sheet, the bag of dowels, all of them resting in the same places they have rested all evening, patient and still. And the night outside the window is deep and dry and quiet. The kind of quiet that does not need to be listened to, because it is not a sound. It is a condition. It is the state the world enters when everything that needed to happen has happened. And everything that needed to be said has been said, and there is nothing left except the slow, warm, unhurried passage of time through a room where a body is resting, and the body is yours, and the resting is complete. Let us visit the body now, one last time. Slowly, beginning at the top, at the crown of the head, where the scalp meets the air, where the hair lies against the pillow, or the sheet, or the open warmth of the room, and there is a softness there, a quiet warmth at the very top of you, the place where the day's last thoughts have gathered and are now dissolving. Slowly, the way sugar dissolves in warm water, not vanishing. Exactly, but becoming part of something else, becoming part of the warmth, becoming part of the quiet, losing their edges, losing their shapes, losing whatever urgency or importance they once carried, and becoming instead Nothing more than a faint sweetness in the dark, a gentle residue that the body will absorb while you sleep. Without effort, without awareness, the way the earth absorbs rain. Your forehead is smooth. Whatever creases were there earlier, the small lines of concentration, of thought, of the day's accumulated attention, have softened now, have eased away, have become part of the general stillness of your face, which is calm, which is open, which is resting in the way that faces rest when they are no longer being watched, no longer performing, no longer holding any expression at all except the quiet, neutral, deeply peaceful expression of a person who is nearly asleep. Your eyes are closed. They have been closed for a long time, and the muscles around them, the small, delicate muscles that squint and focus and narrow and widen throughout the day, have released their holding, have softened into a kind of warmth, a kind of heaviness, as though the eyelids themselves have become heavier, have become part of the weight that is pulling you downward, gently, steadily, into the deep, still center of rest. Your jaw is soft. We began here a long time ago, at the beginning of the evening, when we first noticed the tension there and let it go, and it has stayed soft, has stayed open, has stayed in that gentle, released position where the teeth do not touch and the tongue lies low and the whole lower half of the face feels like something that has been set down. Finally, after a long day of being held, your neck, the muscles along the sides of it, the ones that have been supporting the weight of your head all day, turning it this way and that, tilting it toward screens and books and conversations and the 100 small objects of attention that a day contains. Those muscles are resting now. They are warm. They are still. The head is supported entirely by the pillow, and the neck has nothing to do, nothing to hold, nothing to carry. And in that nothing, there is a release so gentle, so complete, that it feels less like the absence of tension and more like the presence of something, the presence of ease, of sufficiency, of a body that has found its resting place and is settling into it the way a stone settles into a stream bed. slowly, over years, over centuries, until the stone and the stream are part of the same landscape, inseparable still. Your shoulders. We have been here before. Two. They are low now, lower than they have been all day, lower perhaps than you can remember them being. And the muscles that run from the neck to the shoulders and from the shoulders to the upper arms have softened into a continuous warmth, a continuous weight, a feeling of openness across the upper body that is like a door standing open in a house where all the rooms are warm and all the lights are low, and there is no reason to close anything. No draft to keep out, no cold to guard against. Only the gentle, even warmth of a night that has settled in and intends to stay. Your arms lie at your sides, or wherever they have come to rest, and the muscles of the upper arms and the forearms and the wrists have all released whatever they were holding, and the hands, those hands we have thought about so often tonight, those hands that build and carry and press and turn are still, perfectly still. The fingers slightly curled, the palms warm, the weight of each hand a small, gentle anchor holding you here, in this bed, in this room, in this night. Your chest rises, your chest falls. The rhythm is so slow now, so deep, so steady that it is barely perceptible, not a movement so much as a presence, a tide, a gentle oscillation between fullness and emptiness that the body performs without any instruction, without any awareness. The way the earth turns without any awareness of turning. The way the seasons change without any awareness of changing. Simply continuing, simply being, simply doing what has always been done and will always be done, quietly, faithfully, without any need for recognition or reward. The ribs expand, the ribs contract, the lungs fill with the warm air of the room and then release it. And the air that leaves you is softer than the air that entered, warmer, slower, carrying with it the last traces of the day's effort. the last small particles of tension and thought and attention. And they are gone now, dispersed into the room, absorbed by the quiet, taken up by the night, the way the night takes up everything, gently, completely, without discrimination, without judgment. Only the steady, ancient work of holding the world while it rests. Your belly is soft, so soft. The muscles there have released so completely that the belly feels like something separate from effort, something that belongs not to the working body but to the resting body, to the body that is being breathed rather than breathing, to the body that has become, in this late and quiet hour, a vessel for warmth and stillness and the slow, tidal rhythm of air moving in and air moving out. Your lower back is flat against the mattress, or nearly flat, the small arch that it held earlier in the evening, the residual curve of a spine that was still remembering what it meant to stand, gone now, dissolved, given over to the bed beneath you, which has accepted it, which has always been willing to accept it, which asks nothing of your spine except that it rest and be warm and be still. Your hips are heavy. The broad bones of the pelvis, the deep joints where the legs meet the torso, the muscles that wrap around them like the walls of a house wrap around its rooms. All of it settled, all of it warm, all of it given to the mattress, with the kind of completeness that only arrives when the body has truly, fully stopped, not paused, not waiting, stopped, in the way that a lake is stopped on a windless night, not dead, not empty, but still, perfectly still, its surface reflecting everything above it with a clarity that only the absence of movement can provide. Your thighs are heavy on the bed. Your knees are soft. Your calves are warm and long and still. The muscles at the backs of them soften to something that feels less like muscle and more like warmth itself, more like the blanket that covers them, more like the air that surrounds them, a continuous, unbroken field of gentle, even heat that extends from the hips to the ankles without interruption, without variation, without any place where the body feels different from the rest around it. And your feet, your warm, still, heavy feet, the soles, the arches, the toes, each one resting, each one warm, each one so deeply, so quietly, so completely at rest that they seem to belong not to a body that walked today, but to a body that has always been lying here, has always been this still, has always been this warm, in a room where the lamp glows amber, and the box on the floor holds its pieces, and the instruction sheet lies on the carpet with its gentle diagrams, its patient arrows, its quiet, wordless promise that everything has a place, that nothing is missing, that the pieces, all the pieces, every piece fit. This is where the story rests, not ends. Stories like this do not end. They settle. They find their place the way a dowel finds its hole, the way a panel finds its shelf, the way a screw finds its thread. Not with force, not with any sudden moment of completion, but with the slow, steady, accumulating rightness of something that was always going to arrive here, at this place, at this hour, in this warm and amber room, where the night is deep and the body is still, and the breath moves in and out like the tide of a sea that has no shore, no horizon, no far side, only the gentle, endless rhythm of its own becoming. Think, if you like or do not think, if thinking has become too much like effort, of the young man from the farm, Ingvar, walking the dirt road with his satchel, the birch forests around him pale and quiet, the sky above him soft and low. He did not know then what the small idea in his mind would become. He did not know about the flat boxes, or the wooden dowels, or the instruction sheets with their diagrams of hands pressing pegs into holes. He did not know about the living rooms, the thousands, the millions of living rooms, where people would kneel on carpets and build ordinary things with their hands on quiet evenings under amber lamps. He knew only the road, the satchel, the weight of small, useful things against his hip, the feeling of walking toward something that had not yet taken shape but that felt, even then, like enough, like the beginning of enough. And that is what it became. Not more than enough, not less, just enough. A box that a person could carry alone. A set of pieces that a person could assemble alone. A sheet of instructions that spoke in pictures, not words, because pictures are patient and gentle and understood by anyone, anywhere, in any room, in any language, at any hour of any evening. A bookcase that could stand against a wall and hold the things that mattered, the books, the photographs, the small objects collected over a lifetime that are too ordinary to describe and too important to discard. A table that could hold a lamp, a shelf that could hold a cup, a quiet, ordinary thing that became part of a quiet, ordinary room that became part of a quiet, ordinary life, and the ordinariness of it, the deep, steady, unremarkable ordinariness of it was the point, was always the point, was the only point that mattered. The lamp in your room is barely glowing now. The amber light has softened to something so faint, so diffuse, that it is less a light and more a suggestion of light, a memory of warmth, a color that exists not in the room, but in the space behind your closed eyes, where everything is warm and dark and still. The box on the floor has become a shape among shapes, a shadow among shadows. The instruction sheet is a pale rectangle on the darker carpet. Its diagrams invisible now, its numbered steps dissolved into the general quiet of a room that has finished its evening, that has told its story, that has nothing left to say except what the silence says, which is everything and nothing and enough. Your body is whole. Your body is warm. Your body is here, and it is resting, and every part of it, from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet, from the softness of the jaw to the heaviness of the hips, from the slow rise of the chest to the still warmth of the hands. Every part of it is held. Held by the bed, held by the blanket, held by the room, and the lamp, and the night, and the quiet, steady fact of your own breathing, which has become so slow, so deep, so gentle, that it is no longer something you are aware of, but something you are made of. Something that moves through you the way light moves through glass, the way warmth moves through wood, the way the quiet moves through this room and this story and this long, soft, unhurried evening that began with a box on a floor and a breath drawn in and a voice that said, "Settle in," and let everything else drift to the edges and allow yourself to be still. You are still now. The room is still. The night is still. And somewhere in a room you will never see, the bookcase is finished. The last screw has been turned. The last dowel has been pressed into its hole. The last panel has found its place against the one beside it, and the whole structure stands now, upright and steady, leaning against a wall in a living room, where the lamp has been switched off and the instruction sheet has been folded along its creases, and set aside, and the empty box has been flattened and placed near the door to be taken out in the morning. The bookcase is empty. It will not be empty for long. Tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that, someone will place a book on one of its shelves. The first book, the one that begins the slow, ordinary accumulation of a life's small treasures, and the shelf will hold it, and the bookcase will hold the shelf, and the wall will hold the bookcase, and the room will hold it all, quietly, steadily, without comment, the way rooms hold things, the way the night holds the day, the way sleep holds the body that has finally, completely, entirely let go. Let go now. There is nothing to hold. There is nothing to carry. There is nothing to build, nothing to assemble, nothing to align or press or turn. The pieces are in their places. The dowels are in their holes. The screws are in their threads. The instruction sheet has been followed to its last step. And the last step is this quiet, this warmth, this weight, this slow and steady breathing that carries you. Now, the way a river carries a leaf, without effort, without direction, only the gentle, constant, unhurried movement of something that knows where it is going, because it has always been going there, because the going and the arriving are the same thing, because rest is not a destination but a current, and you are in it, and it is warm, and it is slow, and it is carrying you now, gently, gently, into the deep and quiet and ordinary place where sleep begins. The lamp dims. The room holds. The night carries you. And everything is in its place. Good night.